Hello, and a very warm welcome to this presentation of the Welcome Evening for Shenley Sixth Form students. The title of this presentation is They're Old Enough Now. Now, I'm not going to explain what that means, but Mrs. Booker, head of Year 12, will do that. First things first, really sorry we can't be here in person. Unfortunately, because of a small number of cases of COVID, which we're taking very seriously and putting all the right precautions in place, we're not really going to risk it by having face-to-face meetings with parents unless absolutely necessary. So we put together this little presentation and we've made it available on YouTube. Now, on this presentation, Mrs. Booker, who, as I said, is the current head of Year 12, she's going to be going through a few things: expectations, vision, what we really want to get out of Year 12. Ultimately, we want to make sure the students are supported and successful, and lots of things we're going to do throughout the year, and Mrs. Booker will go in talk about those in a little bit more detail, and I'll let her do that. So although I'm the head of sixth form and I have that privilege, and it is a privilege, I'm going to let Mrs. Booker, who's in charge of Year 12, do that. Now, Mrs. Booker will be moving to head of Year 13 and we will be employing a new head of Year 12, but we will make sure that transition is as smooth as possible. So I will allow Mrs. Booker to give my presentation. I hope you enjoy it. I'm sure you will. If you have any questions whatsoever, by all means, please email us at the sixth form team at shenley.school.org.uk. I do hope to see you in the near future. I'll definitely see you at parents' evenings, and I'm sure and hope that your son or daughter, your child, will have a fantastic, enjoyable and successful time at Shenley School. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, good evening. My name's Mrs. Brooker, and who you've just listened to is Mr. Greenhouse. She's the director of sixth form. I'm the head of Year 12 currently. As he said, soon I'll be moving into Year 13 and we'll have a new head of Year 12. But currently I'm looking after your children as they enter sixth form life. So today, what I preferred to have done is to be standing in front of you and telling you about our vision, telling you about sixth form life. Unfortunately, we've had to do this in a very virtual way again, same as last year, which is a bit of a pain, but hopefully we'll get all the information to you, one, without boring you too much, but also hopefully answering any and all questions that you have started and thought about in the last week and a half since your child has come to Shenley Brook End. So the first slide says they're old enough now. The reason why I have this on this PowerPoint, because a lot of people, and not just parents, but a lot of people think that, right, they finished their GCSEs, they're off doing their A-levels, they're old enough now, I don't need to do anything. And that really isn't the case. You know, some of these students have only just turned 16. I'm an August baby, so I know that, you know, at this point when I was starting my A-levels, I'd been less than a month 16 years old. So when we say they're old enough now, I think that's a misunderstanding, a misconception of these students, that actually sometimes they're not. They've had a large amount of time since when they would normally have done exams, to when they left, to when they start. And to be honest, I don't think they're old enough now. And I think that quote is put on there just to remind us, actually, no, they're not old enough. And some of them are very mature, true. Some of them are very prepared, and that's really true. But there's a lot of students who these first few weeks, and definitely sixth form as a whole, is going to be quite tough and struggle, and a very, very steep learning curve, especially since this time round they haven't been able to do their exams. They've had no experience of that. So our vision for sixth form, it's really, really important that our sixth formers leave at the end of Year 13 well-rounded young adults. We want their experience to get them ready for their next steps, whether it be apprenticeships, work, university, and we want them to be one of my main core visions is that they are community minded. I really want these students to feel that they are part of not only the Shenley community, the sixth form community, but also the wider community. And I'll go through the kind of things that we do in our sixth form to make sure that those kind of things happen. Now, with sixth form, subject teachers are essential. Okay, we cannot pass, and no student can pass their A levels without their subject teachers. Yes, studying from home is going to be very, very important for them, but their subject teachers are their priority. They need to be in lessons all the time, and they need to make sure that they are communicating with their subject teachers. We have the sixth form team, so you've met Mr. Greenhouse, you've got myself, Mrs. Brooker, the head of Year 12. We also have Mrs. Mallins, who is one of our pastoral leaders, and she works with our students in the study sessions and the study areas, mentoring, just making sure that they're in the right frame of mind, a really good kind of point of contact as a non-teaching member of our staff. We also have Mrs. Pride, who's our senior administrator. A lot of you would have had emails from her, from the sixth form team email. She mans that, as well as many other things within our sixth form, running it while Mr. Greenhouse and I are teaching. And they also, your students also have, well, our students, your children, also have their form tutors, and these are their first point of call every morning. Same with yourselves. Okay, if you have any issues, the form tutors are generally the first people you need to contact, and then it cascades down to us if necessary. But the team for sixth form is a smaller team than normal, although it is growing, because our sixth form is growing, the biggest we've had yet. But it's really, really important to get the way the students need and the support they need and the challenge they need to get through these next 2 years. So we have some brand new facilities. Over the summer months, we spent quite a lot of money that we were owed and we wanted and we bid for and we got to show off and to rebuild and revamp our sixth form area. We have very specific booth areas now where students can work independently in booths where they've got room for laptops, iPads, as well as their textbooks and their notes. We have an upper IT room now with 20, I think it's 25 computers all working and all ready for students to get on there and get on with work, essays, research, everything that they need to be doing. We've had to extend the cafe. So we have the normal small cafe, and now we have extended the cafe so that we have a bigger seating area for students to use. This is generally more of a casual work environment if students choose to work in the cafe and the extended cafe. Same with the fishbowl. This is where they can have food, they can talk to their friends and work at the same time if they so wish. We have our sixth form library. Now, this is really important for those students who are really needing some absolute silence in their working day, need to focus on something without any distractions. The sixth form library is probably the best for this. They are able to use the main library as well, but the sixth form one is only for sixth formers. And that includes textbooks as well as fictional books that they can take out and read, all very much aimed towards their age group. As it says there, we have spent thousands of pounds on this, and it's an amazing new facility and really revamped. We have lots and lots of our own sixth form students' artwork and photography work up on the walls. We wanted to celebrate our students, and they are some amazing students we've had and we have. And I think the more that we see their work, the more we want to celebrate it. And this is one of the ways that we thought we would be able to celebrate it. Fantastic new facilities. At some point, we hope that you'll be allowed into the school building and be able to see some of these facilities that we have. So our expectations. When I talk about expectations, I don't just mean what we expect from the students, which I'll go through in a moment, but it's also what you can expect from us. You know, our form tutors, our subject teachers, and us in the sixth form team, we do aim to get back to you within 24 and 48 hours if you've emailed us or called us. We're all teaching members of staff, so it can be difficult sometimes to grab us as and when you call us, but there's usually someone around to talk to, someone to answer any questions that you have. Mrs. Pride is usually the first port of call when it comes to ringing in. You can expect us to support your child. That's our ultimate aim, is to support your child to become successful in the next 2 years so they can move on to their next part of their lives. But at the same time, I have to say, and I said this to the students, is I'm also there to challenge them, because we do have students who are not quite sure how to use some of their study time that they've been given, independent study time. We have students that think, okay, I'm no longer year 11, school rules don't apply, or however it works. And unfortunately, as well as supporting, my role, quite important role, is to challenge these students, to make sure that they're on time, to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing. But we do it because we want them to be successful. We do it because, as experienced members of staff, we know what makes a really good sixth form student and a really successful sixth form student. And that's why we put probably a little bit of pressure on our students to be the best that they can be. So what we expect our students to be like, and to kind of follow the rules of, is attendance and punctuality. Okay, they are expected to come in at 8:25 when the doors open, although the doors open a little early at the moment, until 3:10, which is the end of their lessons. We do expect them to be in every single day. If they have no lessons at all on a day, apart from Monday, if they have no lessons at all, then they are able to study from home. We call that home study, and that is part of our system. Now, if they have lessons during the day, they are expected to be in form time. Form time is essential because this is where the form tutor creates a relationship, a bond, and these are the people that are going to be writing the references for universities, for CVs, for apprenticeships, for jobs, etc. So they need to be in form. Lots and lots of messages and notices go through the form tutor as well. So they have to be in. Now, when they can leave is after lunch. If they do not have a lesson period 4 or 5, so that's after lunch, then they can leave at lunchtime. Now, their lunchtime this time round, and we have split lunches, the sixth form lunchtime is actually quite early compared to some of the other year groups, and it's at 12:30. So when it gets to lunchtime, if they haven't got any lessons afterwards, they're free to go home and study. They're free to stay if they would like to and use any of our facilities for studying, for maybe volunteering, anything else that they'll be doing during that time. They're free to stay. But if they wanted to go home, they have to wait until lunchtime to go home, and only if they have period 4 and 5 free. Now, as parents, you have access to their Go for School, so you can see their timetable, so you can work out when they should be in and when they're able to come home if they choose to come home to study. I've said this to year 12s, and they may not like it, but they're role models within the school. The year 7 to 11 look up to our sixth formers and they make judgments about them, and our sixth formers are role models. We expect them to be dressed appropriately, to behave appropriately, and rarely do we ever get that wrong, and rarely do the students ever get that wrong, but we do expect that. We have some really big enrichment and community opportunities. I've been working quite hard over the past few years to make lots and lots of connections outside of the school so that we can work with the Milton Keynes Health Charity, the Milton Keynes Hospital Charity, looking at Age UK, the Milton Keynes branch. We've been working with them. We've got lots and lots of charities, local as well as global, that we work with, and we get them to work with them in enrichment. Now, these are Wednesday afternoons. It's compulsory unless a student has a basketball academy, netball academy, a resit lesson, or a further maths lesson. every student is expected to take part in enrichment. This is period 4 or 5 on a Wednesday afternoon. We have a range of activities, including things like cooking, basketball, sports. We have finance. We have some IT qualifications. We have languages. We have these charity opportunities and fundraising opportunities. We have mentoring, and we also have work experience. Lots and lots for our students to choose from in order for them to complete their enrichment, to become that kind of rounded student who can go away and say, I am more than just my exams. We expect our students to communicate with us all the time. If there is an issue, there's enough people that they can talk to. So if they don't feel like they can talk to me, they can go to Mr. Greenhouse or Mrs. Pride or their form tutors. Even their subject teachers are there for them. So communication is key. That includes things like absences. In the handbook, which you have a copy or can access on the website, and the students have a copy, there is a very specific line and email for sixth form absences. Same with any subject issues. If they've got anything wrong with certain subjects, they can come and talk to us. You can come and talk to us. We've had emails from parents and emails from students if they can't physically find us. We want to be able to help and support our students, not just academically, but personally. So if there are any personal issues, we would want our students to come and talk to us, even if they have a certain person that they would rather talk to other than myself, for example, then we are all there for them. These things are there to support your child through the next 2 years. It's one of those things that I say all the time. And Mr. Greenhouse, you said it to these in assembly, but they really need to be working from the very beginning. Last week and this week are have been more kind of settling in, getting to grips with things. And now it really does start. The workload, the homework, the expectations are going to be building and building. We have lots of things during form time to help support the students, ways to survive, ways to kind of organise themselves, plan themselves, prepare for sixth form. We do all of that during form time. So it's essential that the students do come to that because they're going to get a lot out of it. If they decide that they want to start working hard 6 months in or even 6 weeks in, they're going to find it very, very difficult, and it can be too late. Some students do not come back from being quite lazy or being quite relaxed in the first 6 months. There's a lot to do. These are now linear exams, which means they have the full 2 years, and end of year 13 is when their main exams will be, which means they really do need to learn and know everything from the beginning of year 12. So to start straight away, to work hard right from the beginning is going to be something really important, and we need your help at home to focus on that, because we want them to become responsible, reliable and more mature students and people. But what's really important about all of that is that these students, these children, essentially, these are just 16-year-olds at this stage, need support not just from school, but from home. Don't think that, they're old enough now, they can do it all themselves. Please check in and see how they're doing. You know, if they don't feel comfortable talking to us, you would feel comfortable. So, you know, maybe call us, send us an email. But communication, working hard and support from both yourselves as well as the school is what's going to make these students really, really successful. So to go through some of our main policies, and these are generally the questions that we get asked quite often throughout the year. So this is all in the handbook, which hopefully your child has shown you and you've had a chance to read. If not, after this, please go away and have a read of it because it goes through everything. We have set procedures, and just like in industry, we have warning levels. So especially for attendance, we rarely get this for behaviour or conduct, but we do. It's the same kind of process, but there are forms. Is one of the kind of levels. So the form tutor will check their attendance, making sure everything's okay. Then it goes to a level 1, And this is usually when their attendance is below 90% and they haven't improved after their conversation with their form tutor. They would be then put on a level 1 warning with myself. We'll have a discussion about why their attendance is so low, and we'll look at targets. After those targets are set, if everything's okay, then they stay on that level 1 throughout their time at sixth form, and usually, almost always, students stop at that point. We rarely get anyone that goes to level 2, which is more of a formal discussion with yourselves involved, and level 3, which actually surpasses me, goes straight to the head of sixth form, Mr. Greenhouse, and yourself will have a formal meeting regarding your child's future at Shenley. And this is where attendance is so important, because if they don't attend, they're not learning and they're not going to be successful. We have a dress code. Now, this is something that is always questioned by students, and a lot of parents aren't sure. They're not allowed to wear trainers, to wear leisure wear, hats, can't wear hoodies indoors either. Our dress code is very, very specific on the website. I'm not going to go through everything right now because it would bore you, but it's very specific. But it also still allows for fashion and individuality, and it's not as strict as some others. There are lots of other sixth forms out there that will ask for business dress, suits all the way through. We don't ask for that. We ask for a handful of things that they can't wear, and the rest is up to them as long as they're looking smart. It's part of the role models, it's part of our policies, and it's part of what the student has signed by signing up with us at Shenley. We have a new mobile phone policy. If you have if you have children in year 7 to 11, you will know our new school policy. For sixth form, it's slightly different. We still want them to have the ability to use their phones for studying, which a lot of students do. So we have said to them, anywhere where a lower school student can see you is where your phone has to stay in your bag. That includes headphones. So corridors, we want their phones and headphones in bags. If they're in sixth form study areas, very specific for sixth form, then they are allowed their phones in front of them and working with them. Anywhere where a lower school student can see them, they need to keep it away. We've had a few kind of reminders that we've had to make, but to be honest, in the general, our year 12s are amazing so far, really great start, and they're doing really well with that. Parent mail was really important for us to communicate with you, so please keep an eye on that. Anything that you need to respond to and sign off on, please do so, because sometimes things like Wi-Fi passwords, students will be waiting for their parents to actually kind of approve that and reply to parent mail regarding that. I've said about them being role models. They are, and if they're not doing the right thing, then they will be challenged for that. Study periods and working from home. These are not, I'm going home, I'm going to spend some time on my Xbox or PlayStation, or I'm going to chill out or anything like that. They are specific study periods. Students should be spending at least 2 to 3 hours per week per subject outside of lesson time, studying, going through their notes, reading around the subject, all these different things. Everything that we go through during form time as well. All this we talk to the students about during form time. If they would wish to stay at school instead of going home to study, then that is fine. If they wish to go home after lunchtime, if they don't have lessons, or if they wish to stay at home if they have no lessons on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, that is fine as well. But they have to be using that time to study. And hopefully those who do will find that when we get into the end of year 12, get to exams, when we get to year 13, things will feel more comfortable, more manageable. So I guess it's time to really talk about the role of yourselves, the parents. It is hard. These students do still need the support and encouragement at sixth form, at year 12 and year 13, just like they did during their GCSEs. Okay, they are only just turning 17. They are taking a very big jump from GCSEs to A levels. and they will need your support. They will need you to understand that actually there's an element of independence, but there's also a point where the parent yourselves, as well as us as the school, need to kind of give them the right guidance, sometimes more of a challenging or a stricter guidance as to where they need to be going and what they need to be doing. We need your help to make sure that the students are here on time. So 8:25 is when the doors open. They should be walking through those doors at that time, and that making sure that they are here. We've had a few phone calls in the past where the parents like, well, I don't know, you'll have to call them. But it is still, under the age 18, they're still your responsibility to make sure they're coming into school. And going to Shenley Brook End is a full-time education slot. They do need to be in. So we just need your support and help in making sure that they are in. And if they're not, or if they're missing school, just making sure that they're calling in for their absences and making sure that they are trying to get in as best as they can. So if it's a minor headache, still get them in. Dress code, if we can ask you to just keep an eye out on that, knowing that they can't wear trainers, Converse, Vans, any of that stuff. Please just keep that in mind as they're coming through or leaving the house. Jeans as well, not allowed, those kind of things. Making sure that they are studying at home. And what I think is probably one of the most important things is making sure that they're not overdoing it on part-time jobs. This is still full-time education. They may not have a lesson during a particular day, but they should not be, legally, they should not be taking on part-time jobs during the school hours, especially if things change, timetables change, they need to be able to be adapting to that. Part-time jobs, the students that take on Saturday and Sunday jobs, as long as they are able to cope with their studies and do well and get their part-time jobs as well, having a good balance is really important, and we need your help at home to make sure that's happening. Communication, you're very, very good at communicating with us, and we really appreciate that, so just keep that up. And work experience, our students are expected to do some form of work experience during the course of the 2 years. This might be going off for 2 whole weeks somewhere, wherever they decide they want to go. This is not part-time job for an extra 2 weeks. This is something that's going to lead towards a potential career, or at the very least some sort of experience to a job that they may want to do in the future. Our students, we're asking them, it's their responsibility to go out and try and find some. Now, we send lots of emails saying these companies are open to work experience students and applications, so students have to be involved in that. But as a parent, if you're able to support your child in finding some work experience over the next 2 years, then that would be really appreciative if you can, especially if you're working in an industry that they would like to follow your footsteps in. It's always good to have someone you know within that industry to help you. So what if things don't go well? Well, the first thing is communication. I keep saying that over and over again, but I think it's really, really important. We have the subject teacher who will talk to your child, will talk to the student, making sure they're okay, know what they're doing. Why is the homework not in? You didn't seem to be too engaged today. What's going on? They will be the first point of call because they're in the subject. They're the ones seeing them in lessons every single day. Then we have the form tutor who sees them every morning, who just checks in on them, helps them with their planning, organisation, eventually UCAS referencing. We have the progress leader, Mrs. Mallins, as I've mentioned. She's there in a non-teaching capacity. She's upstairs in the sixth form area, and she's there for the students to go and speak to if they don't feel like they can speak to any of the sixth form team, myself, or Mr. Greenhouse, or their subject tutors or form tutors. You have myself, the head of year at the moment, and you have yourselves. If we all have to work together. Parental involvement is really important from our point of view to support on both sides. It's really difficult when parents haven't got a clue what's going on with their child at school, and when communication has broken down and we're not sure what's going on at home in order to support that student. They have timetabled study sessions. Some students have these. They are there to go to Mrs. Mallins, the progress leader. They check in with her, they talk to her, and they get on with their work within the room that Mrs. Mallins is in. These study sessions are essential for students to improve, and they're there to support them. They can be added on to any student's timetable, and they can eventually be taken off of students' timetables. And that's usually in what would be their non-contact, non-lesson times, but they will be timetabled with Mrs. Mallins. It's really important for the communication to be there between us and yourselves so that we can support the students. And finally, I promise you, it's nearly over. First of all, I'd say the handbook. Get it from your child. Have a look on the website. It's all there. Please read it because it covers everything that I have gone through in more detail, and it has lots and lots of frequently asked questions, especially the ones that we're constantly being asked and having to repeat. Just please look at that. It's really important. There have been times in the past we've had parents go, I didn't know. It's in the handbook. It's always been in the handbook. So that is very, very important for yourself as well as the students to go through and understand. We do have an upcoming event. Tuesday, the 30th of November is our first progress report, which is seen as PR1. This is usually for settling in comments. This is for how they're doing so far in their subjects. They would have probably done at least one assessment by that time. So we have lots and lots of things like that coming up. We do have a settling in evening coming up too. At the moment, we're not sure if that's going to be virtual like this is, or it's actually going to be face to face. But either way, myself and Mr. Greenhouse will always be around for support and to answer any questions that you have. Thank you so much for listening to this. I know it's not the most interesting of things to have to listen to with someone on a computer screen with a PowerPoint, and I would rather have been there talking to you face to face. But unfortunately, the times have changed and we have to work like this at the moment. If you do have any questions, please feel free to contact us and to email us. So, as I said, any questions, please feel free to contact us, to email us on the sixth form team at sbeschool.org.uk. We will try and get back to you as soon as possible. If there's anything that you're still not sure of after this presentation and reading the handbook, please contact us. Communication is so important for the next 2 years with us and you, as well as your child and the students. It's really important that we get things going. But please feel free to email us any questions you have. Thank you very much for watching and have a good evening. Thank you.